Hi guys, and welcome to a new episode of The Collector, and hey, thanks for watching. This time we will be looking at 10 games on the Sega Mega Drive/Genesis that you do not want to miss. Again, this is not a top 10 and I am not rating the games and they won't be in no particular order. It is just a way of showing you games that I enjoyed in my childhood. Also, I don't own all these games, but I wish I would. So let's just jump right into it. And first we have Decap Attack, and I can say this is a bit of a weird one. You are a small monster created by two scientists, and now you have to save the world from Max Decap, who came from the underworld with his army of evil dead and is now trying to conquer the world. You play as Chuck and you are a weird little monster that is wrapped in bandages like a mummy. This is a side-scroller, so you walk from left to right or from right to left until you reach the end of the stage. The levels are broken into 3 smaller levels and they end up with a monstrous boss fight. And that is the key word here, guys, monstrous. And you will be facing all kinds of monsters on your journey, and this would have been a great game to play around Halloween time. The music is great and gives a spooky vibe to the game. As a weapon, you use your face. Yeah, you heard me right, you throw your face from your body and kill all the other monsters. You can also find these skeletons' heads that you use for a projectile, throwing it at enemies and it comes automatically back. So that is what Decap Attack has to offer, and I think it's one of those games that you do not want to miss on the Sega Mega Drive/Genesis. And Elemental Masters is one of those games where you have to persevere because it is that difficult. This is a vertical shoot 'em up and you will play with Laden, who needs to confront his brother Gira, who is now a Lord of Darkness. We do not know how this happened, but the story is not that important. What matters here is that this game is a great shoot 'em up, but difficult as hell. You have the possibility of choosing from 4 stages right off the bat, and that is good because you will get bored with trying the same stage over and over. This way you can at least try the others as well. I played and tried all of them, believe me, but the game is just too damn difficult, so I couldn't even beat one. As a weapon, you have this double laser where if you press the button once, it will shoot for 3 seconds and then you have to press it again. It is a bit annoying that you do not have the possibility of keeping the button pressed and just focus on dodging. This will have made the game much easier, but hey, maybe that's just me. You have one button that shoots forward and one button that shoots backwards, and you will have to juggle between them and try to make the impossible. The game is hard, yeah, but it's one of those games that you do not want to miss on the Sega Mega Drive/Genesis. And Landstalkers is an interesting game on the Sega Mega Drive/Genesis. In a way, I will say it's like the Zelda of Sega because it has the same cryptic exploring style. Landstalker is an action-adventure game on the Mega Drive, and it's kind of unique as there are not many games of this type on Sega compared to the SNES. You play as Nigel, who is a treasure hunter, something like Indiana Jones, but instead of giving the treasure to the museum, you keep it for yourself, kind of like Wario. The graphics are amazing here and it has an isometric look to it which you need to familiarize yourself to it, as it will seem a bit weird at first to move and explore, especially when platforming. You meet a small fairy named Friday which you save from some bullies because she says she knows where a big treasure is hidden. You pay all the money you have to this giant bird who transports you to the treasure island. And here you end up finding a village that belongs to some creature who you need to help if you want clues about the treasure. This game will make you lose a lot of time exploring and finding lost treasure, and I think is one of those games that you do not want to miss on the Sega Mega Drive/Genesis. And Shining Force is one of those games you need to experience to fall in love with. It's a turn-based RPG with a complicated story which you will want to see to the end. It's easy to lose yourself in this game and lose a lot of hours, so you need to play this one with care. A long time ago, the forces of good and evil fought for supremacy. The battle was won by the forces of good, and the leader of the dark forces, the Dark Dragon, was banished into a parallel dimension. It looks like the gate between dimensions has gone weak and we are witnessing a potential breach and the return of the Dark Dragon. We do not want this to happen, and as such you take the role of a young soldier that is being trained by the army general in the Castle Grandia. Something happens and the general is called to the king, and as such we join him and find out that something has happened. We are put in charge of a small group of young people and are tasked with going to the gate and see what happened. This group is named the Fellowship of the Shining Force. We go to the gate and here we find some dark elves and goblins ready to fight. This is where the magic happens in a turn-based battle system where every character can choose to move or stay a turn. When in range, you can move next to the enemy and attack, and the animation changes into an attack scene. Warriors can only attack next to them, where archers and mages have a different attack length. Be careful here though, because if you lose your main hero, you lose the fight and you have to start all the way back from the church, and some strategy is needed here. Shining Force is one of those games you do not want to miss on the Sega Mega Drive / Genesis. And next we have Mega Turican, and this is a run and gun that is a bit more complex. You don't just run from left to right, the stages are long and they have an element of exploration to them. You take the role of a warrior who is capable of wearing the super battle suits Mega Turican. And you start a fight with the machines that have enslaved countless planets and beings. The sound and graphics are so good here, and I wish I had this one when I was a child, but sadly I did not. You have 3 buttons here, one jumps, one is the weapon, and the third is the grappling hook. This game has the option of keeping the button pressed for auto fire, and I love it when games do this, as there will be a lot of jumps and platforming which you will need to do while holding the attack button down to kill the enemies. This makes it so much easier. You have different power-ups which you find in some colored gems, red being spread, blue is a plasma that spreads on the ceiling and the floor, and green is a laser. If you take the heart, it will not give you an additional life, instead it will upgrade the weapon you currently possess, like the laser will become much wider. This game is cool, and it's one of those games that you do not want to miss on the Sega Mega Drive / Genesis. M.U.S.H.A is a vertical shoot-'em-up that will impress you with its amazing sound. In fact, the game is famous for its amazing music and sound, and the graphics look quite impressive also. We have a lot of on-screen action from the get-go, and it's not like other shoot-'em-ups where you start with a few enemies and gradually get more. This game starts with a lot of enemies and then you get even more. The game is fantastic though, and we can see we are over Japan in the first stage, and I love these types of game cause I love Japan. At first it will be a bit overwhelming and you will not know what to do. Well, it's simple, it's a shoot 'em up, you just have to kill everything and advance, but the trick is in the power-ups. You have a generic power-up on one button, and when you find the power-ups, you get a second weapon on a different button. You have 3 types of power-up: red gives you more attack power, blue gives you a shield, and green a continuous laser. The trick here is now in getting the same power-up over and over again and upgrading that to max. If you accidentally get a different one, you reset and start all the way from the beginning. So choose the one you like and keep getting the same type. The game is superb, and it's one of those games you do not want to miss on the Sega Mega Drive / Genesis. Okay, and Pulseman is one that's a bit more strange. It's an action platformer that will hit you with its powerful palette of colors. You play as Pulseman, a strange robot that has the power of electricity. The stages here are divided into these live color stages where you might find yourself not liking it, but if you stay with it, you find out that there is more than meets the eye, and you find yourself in these gorgeous parallel scrolling stages that will make you feel a bit dizzy, but you will love it. You have 3 buttons here, one jumps, one uses your electrical punch, and the third one is superpower, but also is used to traverse these electrical wires. The game is interesting, and it gets more interesting the more you play it. It's easy to judge this game after 10 minutes and say it's not that good, but if you stay with it, you will find out that we have a good game here. The game was never released in physical form outside of Japan, sadly, but that does not mean we cannot play it. The game is interesting, and I think it's one of those games that you do not want to miss on the Sega Mega Drive/Genesis. And Vectorman is an interesting game, but it suffers a bit from an annoying audio and it might put some of you off. But if you can get over this, what we have here is a solid action platformer, but a very difficult one. In the future, mankind has left the planet full of garbage and ran for the stars, leaving robots in their place to clean it up and throw everything in the sun like into a giant dumpster. In the meantime, an abnormality happened and a robot fuses with an atomic bomb and creates a threat to the returning humans. This new robot wants to prepare every robot for a war against the human upon their return. You play as Vectorman, the last unaffected robot, and it's up to you to bring back order to the robot nation. The gameplay is good, but the game suffers from something that pisses me off. You have 2 buttons, one shoots and one jumps, and if you press the jump twice, he uses his propulsors for a double jump. The game is difficult, and if you die, you get sent all the way to the beginning of the stage, having checkpoints only after you manage to beat the first boss. The difficulty does not bother me though. In fact, I like a game that is difficult, but the fact that they did not implement a turbo button and you have to constantly press the attack button while the enemy takes loads of shots, now that is something really annoying. And that could have been fixed so easily. And I'm sure there is a patch out there that does it, but I would have loved it if it was from the game. But with that being said, I think this is one of those games you do not want to miss on the Sega Mega Drive/Genesis. And Alien Soldier is a complicated game. I would like to just say that it's a run and gun, but things are not that simple. The story is so complicated that you will get bored after 10 minutes of reading it and you will just start the game. The game starts and you realize from the tutorial that something is not right. We have too many buttons. What do I mean by this? Let me explain. One button changes the weapon. One shoots and one jumps. Simple, yeah. But if you press the change weapon button and down, you change the way the player moves. First one, you can't move while shooting, and in the second one, you can. If you press down and jump, the player does an instant flash to the other side of the screen, good for escaping enemies. If you press jump and then you press it again, then he remains in the air with his propulsors and you have to press jump again for a double jump. That's a bit confusing. And the most annoying, if you are left without fuel for the current weapon, it does not automatically switches to the next one. You have to manually switch. And it's not as simple as hitting the L and R button, because you know Sega doesn't have an L and R button. You have to press the weapon button and then move the directional pad to the next one. This thing is annoying and it leaves you open for enemy attack. The game looks so good though, and if you have the time and patience to stay with it, you will love it. But as it stands now, Alien Soldier is one of those games you do not want to miss on the Sega Mega Drive/Genesis. Wow, and this game is amazing. Midnight Resistance starts with no story and it's a great game. It's a run and gun similar to Contra, but it does its own thing. At the beginning you will think that this game is not that great as things move slow and you do not find different weapons like in Contra. You will think, oh, This is a bit boring. The game moves slow, but this gives you the opportunity to dodge all the bullets coming towards you, so that is good. You collect these keys and at the end of the stage you can spend them on weapons like shotgun, spread, lasers and many more. This is where the game gets interesting as you realize you have to play good to reach the end with many keys, so you can get an upgrade, and trust me, you want that upgrade as the game gets difficult. If you lose a life, you do not lose your keys and current weapon, they are just thrown on the ground and you can get them with the next life. That is good. I suggest you go into options and choose 5 lives instead of 3, and also put the game on easy mode, as even like this it will be quite difficult. The sound here is not that great, but it does what it's supposed to do and gives the game an upbeat vibe. And the graphics, what I initially thought was not that good, turned out to be amazing through its level design and places like this where I'm fighting these airplanes at sunset. It looks so good. This game is a real hidden gem, and it's one of those games that you do not want to miss on the Sega Mega Drive/Genesis. Alright guys, so those are 10 games you do not want to miss on the Sega Mega Drive/Genesis. Please comment and tell me what you thought about this video and what are some titles you would put on this list. I might make a follow-up video. But with that being said, I want to thank you for watching, and if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe or at least tell a friend.